Right, it's a pleasure to announce our next speaker. Which is Marco Brunella from the CNRS and the Universidade de Bourgogne. And he'll talk on periods of complete polynomial vector fields.
So I start by recalling a result by Suzuki, by Masakazu Suzuki. A result which concerns complete polynomial vector fields. That is in Cn. So take a vector field, polynomial, PG, no, holomorphic for the moment. And suppose that this vector field is complete. So it generates a C action. I will call phi t the flow at time t, which is a flow by a group of biolomorphisms of Cn. Given such a complete vector field, there are three types of orbits. First of all, the singular points of a vector field, the zero of a vector field. And then all the other orbits are isomorphic to C or to C star. The case of elliptic curve cannot happen because we are in Cn. And given an orbit isomorphic to C star, we have a period associated to it, which is essentially the period induced by the vector field V on C star. In fact, this period is not really well defined because the period is computed by evaluating the time necessary for vector field to do a complete cycle. But we have to choose the generator of a fundamental group. And there are two possible choices. So this means that, in fact, the period is a well-defined object up to a sign. And so what is well-defined is not the period, but the square of the period, which I will call P square. So this is a squared period. Now, the theorem of Suzuki concerns the case in which the vector field is of type C star. Type C star means that generic orbits of a vector field are isomorphic to C star. Here generic means, for instance, outside a pluripolar subset of Cn, but in fact, a posteriori, it means also outside an analytic hypersurface in Cn. And so we have, in fact, an open set, a Zariski open set of Cn, over which we have a well-defined squared period. And the theorem of Suzuki says that this function is, in fact, the restriction of a meromorphic function on Cn. So the theorem of Suzuki which is very old, something like 76. So it says that there exists a meromorphic function, f, on Cn, which extends p square, such that for a generic point in Cn, f of z is the period. Is a squared period. In fact, this meromorphic function, it turns out that it is the inverse of this meromorphic function is holomorphic. So it is a meromorphic function without zeros. And it is a holomorphic function on Cn. So more precisely, there exists a holomorphic function on Cn such that if you take the constant hypersurface where this function is equal to C, if this constant is different from 0, then we have an hypersurface over which the period is something like 1 over C, and so the action factorized through an action of C star. It is an hypersurface over which all the orbits have the same period. And the hypersurface corresponding to the zero set is filled by orbits with infinite period, that is orbits isomorphic to C. And then there are also the singularities, which may be everywhere. So the theorem that I will discuss is the following. So this theorem is, I stated it in the case of Cn, but it holds on any Stein manifolds, for instance. And it is sufficient that the vector field is holomorphic. So the theorem is that suppose that the vector field is polynomial. And still complete and of type C star. Then the period function f is in fact a rational function. That is 1 over f is a polynomial. So this seems, and perhaps this is quite trivial to prove, because after all we have by Suzuki theorem we already have some holomorphic function, and we need to prove that this holomorphic function is a polynomial using the polynomiality of a vector field. And so perhaps there exists some simple algebraic manipulation in order to prove such a statement. But I don't know, I am unable to prove to find such a trivial algebraic proof. So this is not significant because I am allergic to algebra. But I also asked for such an algebraic proof to the best algebraist I know, who is Dominique Servoz, and he was unable to find an algebraic proof of this result. So in order to see where is the problem, I recall very briefly the Suzuki proof. Suzuki proof is very simple, in fact. So we have the flow. Perhaps it is better to write it like this. And we may take in this space an analytic subset, Z, which is the set of points such that phi t z equal to z. So I do the picture, so this is the time. These are the fibers Cn. So this is the set of T-periodic points, and it is an analytic subset of Cn. And it is not difficult to see that so it is a subset with many components, and perhaps there are some vertical components in correspondence of the singularities of a vector field, and components with different dimensions. But the fact that the vector field is of type C star implies that there exists some irreducible component of this analytic subset whose projection on the vertical factor is surjective. Is not surjective, but at least the dominant. So the image is an open subset of Cn. And no, I think it is better. So there exists some irreducible component which project almost surjectively on Cn, and among these components, there is one whose degree is 1 or 2, and this component is the graph of a period. The graph which will be univalued or bivalued because the period is defined up to a sign. And so the fact that in Suzuki theorem, the fact that we have the analyticity of the inverse of a squared function on all Cn, and not only where there are C star orbits, is a consequence of the fact that this is an analytic subset of Cn times C. Now, the problem is that even...
not only the periods, also multiples of the period appear, no?
Yes, but you take one irreducible component will be the other irreducible components are the multiple of the period. There are infinitely many, and now in order to prove the rationality of the period, we embed Cn into Cpn by adding the hyperplane at infinity. And essentially, by the same argument, we need to prove that such a graph of p square, the graph of a period, has an analytic extension in Cpn product C. So we have to prove that this analytic subset extends analytically at infinity. But the problem is that this analytic subset is defined using the flow, and generally speaking, the flow is something which is transcendental, even if the vector field is polynomial in general, and even if the vector field is of type C star, the flow is a transcendental object, and even if we fix T, for each fixed T, phi T is in general a biolomorphism of Cn, which is not algebraic. And so, in this way, it seems that Suzuki proof cannot work in the polynomial case. This proof says nothing more in the polynomial case. But because the flow has essential singularities at infinity. So the proof that I will give is in fact based on the fact that the flow does not, the flow phi t does not extend to the hyperplane at infinity, but the foliation generated by the vector field extends to the hyperplane at infinity. And some properties of the foliation in Cn will be extended to the hyperplane at infinity. So in order to give the proof, I start from very far. And from very far means that for the moment, let us consider a foliation f, a foliation by curves. On Cpn, say, or more generally on a projective manifold. And first of all, I state some general result. In the following, this foliation will be the compactification in Cpn of the foliation generated by the vector field, but for the moment, let us consider the general case of the foliation by curves. And I will use some properties of the uniformization of the leaves of this foliation. So we have a foliation. With singularities. And I will do the following construction. We take a local transversal to the foliation, like this. So isomorphic to the n-1 dimensional disk. And we consider the leaves which intersect this transversal. So for each p in the transversal, let Lp, the leaf, the corresponding leaf. Here leaf means that means that we consider the foliation outside the singular set, which is a regular foliation, and the leaves are defined in the usual way. So this is a Riemann surface, a curve, a complex curve, and we can consider the universal covering. Which is C or D. The case CP1 cannot happen in this special case because we are in CPN, and in CPN there are not such foliations. And then the first fact, lemma. The first fact is that we may glue together these universal coverings of leaves in such a way to obtain a complex manifold. So there exists a complex manifold of dimension n. They call a covering tube. With the following property. First of all, there exists a projection on the transversal T, and there exists an immersion. So this is an immersion, and this is a submersion into X, into CPN. And the fiber of the fibers of P are sent by P to the leaves of a foliation. So the P minus 1 of a point T in the transversal is the universal covering of the corresponding leaf, and P restricted to L tilde to this fiber is the universal covering of the leaf.
This immersion is C0.
C0
C1?
is holomorphic.
Oh,
Holomorphic. You can holomorphically glue the universal covering of the leaves. So this is the transversal, essentially. And, so we have this manifold with this submersion, and each fiber is isomorphic to C or to the disk. And it is possible to have a mixed situation in which some fibers are isomorphic to the disk and some fibers isomorphic to C. So this lemma is something topological in the following sense, that it is very easy to construct on this set, to give a topology to this set, and to construct an open covering such that the open sets of this covering are isomorphic to open sets in Cn, and such that the transition function are biolomorphism. But this is not yet a complex manifold, because we need also the Hausdorff property for the topology. So the non-trivial fact in this lemma is the topological fact that this manifold UT, this topological space UT with its natural topology is an Hausdorff space. And in order to prove this, one has to use in a stronger way the fact that we have a foliation on CPN, or more generally on some projective manifold. That is, the same lemma is false, for instance, for foliations on compact complex manifolds, which are more general, which are not Kähler and things like that. So together with this lemma, there exists a theorem which is much more analytic. So we have here a manifold UT of dimension n with a fibration over the n-1 dimensional polydisk, whose fibers are disks or lines. And in general, this manifold UT is not a product, for instance. First of all, because fibers are not necessarily all equal. And even if all the fibers are disks, for instance, this manifold in general is not a product of T by the disk. So the theorem that I state in a vague form is that UT is more or less Stein. More or less Stein means that one would like to prove that UT is in fact a Stein manifold, but I am unable to do such a proof. But I can prove another property which is quite close to the Steinness, and it is a sort of geometric holomorphic convexity. And but this property is very, very complicated to write, and it is very long to write, and so I don't write the precise statement. But it is you may think that UT is a Stein manifold, in fact, even if. In fact, a posteriori, one can prove that it is Stein in many cases. For instance, no, many cases. But I can state in more precise terms a corollary to this theorem.
Is there a case when you know it's not Stein?
No. Probably it is always Stein. So the corollary comes from, perhaps I have to open so I have to say perhaps here this theorem is related also to some older work by Ilyashenko and also Suzuki, but another work. The same Suzuki, but another paper. And they proved something like this. They proved actually that the UT is a Stein, but in the case of foliations on Stein manifolds, not on projective ones. And the corollary is related to some work by Yamaguchi. Still some works of the 70s. And the corollary is the following. It concerns the hyperbolic metric on the fibers of this manifold UT. So we have this manifold UT whose fibers are disks or lines, and we may put on each fiber the Poincare metric. Poincare metric means that if a fiber is a disk, the metric is the unique, complete Hermitian metric of constant curvature -1. And if the leaf is a C, if the fiber is a C, Poincare metric means the zero metric, identically zero. And we can write this metric in some local coordinates, such that the projection is Z, and the vertical coordinate is W. So this Poincare metric can be written as, so we take in local coordinates this object restricted to the verticals perhaps. So this is a local, in these local coordinates, this is a metric on the fibers, and the Poincare metric will be proportional to this. And the proportionality factor can be written as exponential of f, where f is some function with values, so it is defined on the open set V, with values into this space. So if the fiber, if a fiber is a parabolic fiber, isomorphic to C, f is identically -infinity on that fiber. Otherwise, it is a smooth function which satisfies an equation like this, which is the curvature -1. So this is on hyperbolic leaves, and on parabolic leaves is -infinity. And so it is something which is subharmonic on the fibers, and the corollary is that this function f is plurisubharmonic. So the ID de bar is positive in the sense of distributions. Remark that this function f is not intrinsically defined by the foliation because we need to fix local coordinates. But when we change coordinates, the function f changes by something like the logarithm of the modulus of a non-vanishing holomorphic function, which is something pluriharmonic. So the plurisubharmonicity is something intrinsic. So this type of statement was proved by Yamaguchi in the 70s, following also some previous work by Nishino. And they proved statement of this type under the assumption that the manifold UT is a Stein. Here, as I said before, I don't know if it is a really Stein, but the Stein with a quotation mark is sufficient to prove such a statement. In fact, it is the Stein property with a quotation mark is exactly the minimum property that one needs to prove such a corollary using Yamaguchi argument. So this corollary says absolutely nothing in the case which is essentially our case, the case in which all the leaves are parabolic, because in that case the metric is identically minus infinity or identically 0, and so it is not very interesting. But the theorem says something more than its corollary. First of all, a remark. A corollary to this corollary is that if you take a foliation on a projective manifold, or more generally on a compact Kähler manifold, you take the parabolic leaves. Now, parabolic leaves are exactly the leaves where this function f is equal to minus infinity. That is, parabolic leaves form a so-called pluripolar subset of a manifold. And so it is a fact well known that a pluripolar subset, which is not the full manifold, a pluripolar subset is something which is very, very small. In any sense, it is, for instance, the Lebesgue measure is 0, and for instance, the interior is empty. Thus, a corollary to this theorem is that the set of parabolic leaves of a foliation is either the full manifold, outside the singular points, or a pluripolar subset. Now, consider the case of our foliation f in a CPN, which comes from a complete vector field in Cn. In that case, all the leaves in Cn are parabolic because of the flow. And but there is the hyperplane at infinity, which is also filled by leaves of a foliation. But because all the leaves in Cn are, because there exists an open set of leaves parabolic, a consequence of this is that also the leaves on the hyperplane at infinity are parabolic. So this is a general property of foliations generated by complete vector fields in Cn. Also, the leaves at infinity are uniformized by C. And perhaps there exists a simpler proof without using this theorem, but this is the only proof that I know. In dimension 2, when n equal 2, it is not very difficult to give an alternative proof, because the infinity is a leaf plus some singularities, and you need to prove that there are at most two singularities at infinity. And this can be done because if you have more than three singularities, the fundamental group is not solvable, and so there exists some kernel, blah, blah. But in higher dimension, I don't know. Now let me state, so the first conclusion from this general theory for our special problem is that all the leaves of a foliation, not only the leaves, the finite leaves in Cn, but also the leaves at infinity, are isomorphic to C. The second fact that I will need, so let us consider again a general foliation, and let us suppose that all the leaves are parabolic. Then we have this manifold UT, whose fibers are isomorphic to C, and in that case we have that this manifold is a product. And this follows again by this theorem essentially. Because, again, in the case in which all the fibers, or in the case in which UT is a Stein manifold, this is a classical result by Nishino, which also was revisited by Yamaguchi. So they proved given a Stein manifold which fibers over the polydisk with fibers C, then it is a product. And in this case, one can do the same a variation of that proof, even if we know only the Stein property with quotation marks.
What happened to the C-star leaves in this discussion?
This is the universal covering. The fibers are universal covering. So for the moment, there are no... Later, I will introduce another manifold which is given by the holonomy coverings. And so there are all, but just again, in the case of a foliation generated by a complete vector field in Cn, observe that if you take a transversal which is in Cn, then such a statement is trivial because the triviality of this manifold comes simply by the flow. The flow itself, which is defined, allows to give such a trivialization. But here the statement is that such a trivialization of UT holds even if a transversal cuts the hyperplane at infinity. And in that case, we cannot use the flow to produce such a trivialization. So we need, because the flow has essential singularities. Now, I give a short sketch of a proof of this result because it will use a remark which is fundamental. So the remark is the following. We have this manifold UT, and the fibers are isomorphic to C. Then we can remove a section. And let me call this a section both in local coordinates with, this is something like W equal to 0. And so we have something whose fibers are isomorphic to C star. And we can also remove an epsilon neighborhood of this section. So this is a modulus of W less than epsilon. So let me call ut epsilon ut minus this for any epsilon greater or equal than 0. Now, for epsilon strictly positive, so we have removed from each fiber a disk, so the complement is something which is hyperbolic, and I can put the hyperbolic metric. But in fact, I don't put the hyperbolic metric of curvature minus 1, but I put the hyperbolic metric of curvature minus 1 over this metric. So this is I put on the fibers of this manifold, when epsilon is positive, the metric of curvature, this number, which tends to 0 when epsilon tends to 0. And essentially by the same philosophy here, ut is a Stein with quotation marks, and also ut epsilon has the same property, and so we have this metric is a plurisubharmonic in the sense that to this metric we have some function associated f epsilon like this, which is a plurisubharmonic. And then we take epsilon which tends to 0. And when the epsilon tends to 0, when epsilon is equal to 0, the fibers are C star, and the metric here converge uniformly on a special metric on C star, which is the unique complete Hermitian metric of 0 curvature and of whose closed geodesics have length 2 pi, something like this. So I need to write. This is, you take on C star, so this is a metric on C star, which is the unique complete Hermitian metric on C star whose curvature is equal to 0, and whose closed geodesics, which there are closed geodesics, and whose closed geodesics have a period equal to pi. This is the great difference between C and C star. On C star there exists a canonical metric, a metric which is intrinsically defined, and which is this metric. In fact, we have on C star a family of complete Hermitian metric of curvature 0, but this family of metrics depends on a multiplicative constant, but we may normalize this multiplicative constant by requiring that the period is equal to pi. And the same cannot be done on a C. This remark is the essential remark for the theorem about periods. So in this situation, when epsilon tends to 0, one proves that this family, this matrix of negative curvature, uniformly converge on compact sets on this special metric on C star, F0, where this is just an exercise. No? You take a C minus the disk of radius epsilon, and you take on the complement of this disk the metric of this curvature, and when epsilon tends to 0, you obtain that metric. And here we have uniform convergence, and the uniformity, that is the uniformity with respect to the variation of a fiber, comes from Koebe distortion lambda. And now, once we have this, consequence of this is that this is a plurisubharmonic function. But this is a very strong property because so this is a plurisubharmonic function, but because that metric has a 0 curvature, this function is in fact not only plurisubharmonic, but it is harmonic when restricted to the verticals. So we have a plurisubharmonic function which is harmonic in the W variable, and this is a very strong property, which this is a remark, I think, by Yamaguchi still. Yamaguchi's trick, which is the following. So let me work in two variables. We have a function which is plurisubharmonic. So this means that this matrix is positive definite. So we have this disease must be positive and definite. But we know that this function is also harmonic along the fibers. So here there is a 0. But if this is semi-positive, then this is also 0. And so we have that f, not only f w bar is equal to 0, but also f w z bar is equal to 0. That is, the function f w is holomorphic. So we started from a plurisubharmonic function, but using the harmonicity along the verticals, you obtain something which is holomorphic. And it turns out that after some sample computation, the holomorphicity of this gives the holomorphic triviality of UT. Now let me return to the case of a foliation, so the compactification of our original foliation in Cn, compactification in Cpn. Now before there is another thing to do. So we know UT is. So UT is the manifold constructed using universal coverings of leaves, but we may construct a similar manifold using holonomy coverings of leaves. And I call this VT, holonomy covering. And remark that a generic leaf has no holonomy, so for a generic leaf, the fiber of VT is the leaf. And this is also a VT is also a manifold which fibers over T, and with an immersion into the manifold such that the restriction of the immersion on the fibers is the holonomy covering of the leaves. And there exists a natural covering from UT to VT, which is simply the leaf, the vertical wise covering. So here we know that UT is a product. And so it is not difficult to deduce that VT also has some spatial structure. And in fact, VT can be described in the following way. So this is T product C is the same as T product CP1 minus a section. And here VT is the same thing as T product CP1 minus an analytic subset, which is a subset which an hypersurface which intersects the verticals in 2 points. So this is you take a T product CP1 and you remove something whose projection on T as degree 2, and you obtain something whose fibers are isomorphic to C or C star. Okay, so this is the structure of VT. So there are some fibers isomorphic to C, and these correspond to fibers, to leaves, which are either isomorphic to C, or they are leaves isomorphic to C star, but with infinite holonomy, because the fibers of VT are the holonomy coverings. Now, remark that on such a manifold, we have a meromorphic vector field. On C star, we have not only this spatial metric, but we have also a spatial vector field, which is the vector field something like this, which is the unique complete vector field on C star whose periods are equal to 2 pi. In fact, this is not true because there are 2 such vector fields which are defined up to a sign. But let me forget about this. So let us assume that on C star there exists a unique complete vector field with periods 2 pi. Then we may put in this manifold VT, we may put on C star fibers that vector field. We obtain a vector field, holomorphic vector field defined on the union of C star fibers. But looking at this spatial structure, we see that that vector field extends meromorphically to the C fibers with poles along those fibers. And all of these can be done, can be then projected to CPN, where there is the foliation. In other words, everything can be done not in VT, but directly in the manifold, the CPN. On each generic leaf isomorphic to C star, we put the unique complete vector field of period 1, or 2 pi. And then by these results, we have that this vector field defined on some open set, in fact, extends meromorphically to CPN. That is rationally to CPN. So I call this vector field V0. So this is a rational vector field. On CPN. And so if we take a V0 restricted to a generic leaf, C star, this is like this. This is defined in the full CPN. But on the full CPN, we have also our initial vector field, which is a polynomial vector field which can be extended to the line at infinity. So I call still V. So we have two rational vector fields which generate the same foliation, and we necessarily have that the two are proportional by a rational function. But this rational function is exactly the function which give the period of our vector field V, because V0 is on the generic leaves is a vector field which is complete on C star orbits and has a constant period equal 1 or 2 pi, I don't know. And so this function S is the period. Of course, I did a mistake here because the vector field here is not uniquely defined, but it is defined up to a sign. But this sign, by taking the square, the sign disappears. So this is a well-defined object on C star, and the fact that here we have to take the square, of course, is related to the fact that the period is not well-defined, but it is also defined up to a sign. And then you have the square everywhere. And so we have the square here and the square here, and so on. And so this is the proof. Acabou.